So the Indiana Fever have done one thing this year they didn't do at all last year. I think a lot of people are now starting to be a little bit concerned. They're a little bit concerned, and it is purely about this. See these two players here? They're being posted non-stop over the last week or so by the Fever, and then Kelsey Mitchell hasn't been. But there's also one big key thing that St. Patrick's Day, KK Timpson's there. Then you're seeing them post about Lexi Hull. And then for, I think it was International Women's Day, KK Timpson was there as well. Obviously, KK Timpson, the final of Unrivaled. You're seeing Athletes Unlimited champion Odyssey Sims. They posted plenty about Kelsey Mitchell when she was playing in Unrivaled. But they've seen recently the Indiana Fever are posting, obviously, Caitlin, a lot of Aaliyah, and KK Timpson seems to be the third player. And a lot of people are like, oh, it means the Fever aren't going to protect Kelsey. They're like not posting anything about Kelsey. And if we're being honest here, it doesn't mean anything. A lot of people are overreacting to this scenario because it does not mean anything. The reason why it doesn't mean anything is because Kelsey Mitchell is currently not an Indiana Fever player. Like, she's currently not. The Indiana Fever are going to pick up her, like, they're going to, get her on a core designation. There's no chance she doesn't have a core designation. That's going to happen. I don't think anyone is surprised by me saying that statement because it's a fact. She's going to be given the core designation. Whether that's to trade her or whether that is to keep her, doesn't really matter. She's going to be making the Supermax somewhere, probably in Indiana. If it's not in Indiana, I don't know where it'll be. I don't know what it'll be, whatever. Like, they're going to get her somewhere. They're going to, somewhere that she wants to be. She'll be somewhere that she wants to be. But the Indiana Fever are obviously not posting Kelsey Mitchell everywhere because we're now, and they haven't posted Kelsey Mitchell since the new CBA has been done because the chances are no longer 100% of Kelsey Mitchell coming back. I think all parties understand that because the Supermax contract is higher than anyone thought it was going to be. As well as that, the Supermax contract as a percentage, or nobody thought the Caitlin Clark rule was coming in. The Caitlin Clark rule was only announced, if I'm not mistaken, the Caitlin Clark rule was announced a week before. It was announced during the CBA negotiations, like during the last week of it. So it looked like it was a given. Like, with Caitlin and Leah still on their rookie deals, it was probably a given that Kelsey was going to get a 2-year Supermax. Because Aaliyah then gets the max the following year, and Caitlin gets the max the year after. But they get brought in a little bit earlier. So now you can only get 1-year Supermax. Now there's no guarantee Kelsey stays. And you haven't seen much of it since then. And the reason is that Michaela Timpson is Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston are guarantees to be there. Posting about Lexi means the likelihood is Lexi's going to be there. We've seen nothing about Kelsey Mitchell. We've seen no mention of Kelsey Mitchell. Why is that? Because no one really knows what's going on. When it comes to these Supermax contracts, when it comes to what dent is going to make in the salary cap and what it's going to do for the future of the Fever, there are now conversations that have to be had that didn't have to be had 2 weeks ago. And the Fever clearly will want Kelsey Mitchell. It is just a matter of whether or not Kelsey Mitchell fits the timeline they want, whether or not the Fever are going all in 2026, or whether the Fever believe, you know what we need to do for our timeline is not 2026 because New York are still going to have probably a little bit of a better core. Vegas are still going to have AJ Wilson. Our timeline might be when Caitlin and Leah are 26, 27 years old, because when they're that age, like, it took Aja 5 years. It took Aja for her 5th season to win a title. Like, I know she won an MVP in her 3rd, but it took her to her 5th season to win a title. And that was with Jackie Young, with Kelsey Plum. It took till 2022 for Aja to win a title, and she got Chelsea Gray in that. in at that stage, and Chelsea Gray was the reason they won a title. I mean this when I say this, the 2022 playoffs from Chelsea Gray, like when people are saying peak for peak best point guard, like it's Caitlin, and I'm like, it depends on what peak. If the peak is a playoffs, Chelsea Gray in the 2022 playoffs, literally, it was a magnet ball like I've never seen before in professional basketball. It was stupid. She was just shooting these one-legged fadeaways, shooting 60% from the field. It was mental. But yeah, so you've got that. And if the Indiana Fever deem their title window, and this is where they have to be smart, if they deem their best chance of winning a title being 2027, 2028, 2029, if they think Caitlin Clark at 27 and Aaliyah at 27 gives them a better chance of winning a title, especially if you go and you're like Kelsey, if you draft a Flaw J this year, and when it comes to Kelsey Mitchell, you're able to turn Kelsey Mitchell into maybe the 4th pick from Washington. Maybe Washington are thinking, okay, whoever we want to use our 9th pick. Maybe we could get 4 for Kelsey Mitchell. Maybe we get 4 and I don't know what other young player Washington might have. I think they might have Emily Engstler on a reserve free agency contract and the rights to Emily Engstler. Something like that. And like, I don't love that from the Fever. I don't love that. Or maybe 4, like, but at the same time, like something along those lines, because Washington aren't going to give up Citron, especially the way these things are. Maybe if you're Dallas and you're like, Dallas like, fuck it, they're going to go for it. Kelsey Mitchell for 1 might be an option. And then you're like, okay, 27-year-old hazy, 27-year-old Caitlin, 27-year-old Aaliyah, and another and a team around them is a better bet than going all in on 2026, when if we don't win in 2026, we don't really have that much of a future. We're trying to build from late draft picks. You're trying to then build on late draft picks, which is tough, because then Alyssa Smith, if they drafted Shakira Austin instead of Alyssa Smith, we're in a different situation right now. If they drafted Sanaya Rivers last year, we're having a different conversation last year. Or right now, we're having a different conversation if they had Sanaya Rivers. If they were able to have any other young player on this team on a rookie deal that was competent. No offense to Michaela Timpson, she's not going to be a key contributor. They just don't. And in my opinion, what I would do is I would try to get as many young assets that are there long term for Kelsey Mitchell. Heck, if you want to go to Dallas and you don't even want number 1, you go and say, give me Zaza, Louisa, your 2027 pick, and the Aces 2027 pick. And you get Kelsey Mitchell. You can afford Kelsey. So you got Paige, you got AZ, you got Kelsey, you got a Whack Couier, you got whatever other near max contract, or whatever max contract big you can get in free agency. Fuck it. Throw a bag of John Quell for all I care. And then just anyone on the wing. And you're like, okay, or Diamond Miller might still be there. And like that's a playoff team. It's a low-end playoff team, if that's what you want to do if you're Dallas. And then the Fever suddenly have Zaza coming off the bench, Louisa, her and Aaliyah in the starting 5. They're probably not going to win in 2026, but suddenly these players are still on their rookie deals in 2027. And then you've got 2 first-round picks next year to get some younger players, and you still have the number 9 pick, which you might be able to use on a Flaw J, on a Latson, on a Kiki Rice, depending on what way you're going to trade it. So it makes sense. But the reality is I think the Fever do want to keep Kelsey Mitchell, but you're seeing it with nothing being posted about Kelsey Mitchell. First of all, Kelsey Mitchell's probably not in Indiana. That is a big thing. She's probably not in Indiana. We saw last year, other than to sign, Kelsey Mitchell was not in Indiana early. She's probably not in Indiana right now. And 2, when you're seeing a lot of KK Timpson instead of Kelsey Mitchell, KK Timpson's currently under contract. Not only that is, I think the odds of Kelsey Mitchell staying are significantly lower now than they were 2 weeks ago. It's not saying that they're sub 50%. I think the odds 2 weeks ago of Kelsey Mitchell staying were 95%. I think the odds of her staying right now are 75%. But there is still legitimate discussions that have to be had behind the scenes with what the Fever have done. And there's also legitimate discussions that have to be made between Kelsey Mitchell and her agent, whether or not staying in Indiana on a 1-year supermax with no guarantee is worth it over the stability of getting a 2-3-year supermax elsewhere, which she would absolutely be able to get. Like, she would be able to sign a freaking extension. Like, if she got Corden traded, she would sign an extension immediately with whatever team. She would, the agents would get her to a team that would guarantee her to sign her that extension. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I think the Kelsey Mitchell situation is going to be a big talking point until the day we see Kelsey Mitchell in a Fever uniform practicing. Because I think up to the day of the draft, there is possibility in that trade. And Kelsey Mitchell's not the only player that's in the core and trade category, by the way. A lot of teams could potentially core and trade big players. And it becomes really interesting. But anyway, I'll see you guys.